Hello, everyone. When I went to Prague, I had three main objectives, and one of them was to be going to the Baroque Library, the Klementinum. And you go early because tickets are hard to get. And since I was up early, I went to the square to see the astronomical clock strike at 8 in the morning and watch the Apostles' March. And it's a fascinating clock. It's the oldest astronomical clock working in the world, from what I understand. There was a couple that were older than that, but they're no longer working. And this clock survived the uprising of 1945, May 1945, that destroyed much of the old town. And it did receive some damage. Well, here it is. Go ahead and watch this. And if you look up top, you see the apostles moving. Gives a position of the sun, the moon, phases of the moon, constellations. And go very early because it'll get crowded during the day. So I headed over to the Klementinum and got there a little early, read my Kindle, met an Australian family, and started the tour at 9 o'clock, which they sell
We
half
want
the
to give you
tickets
some basic
online.
information
Oh,
about
listen
the
to this.
Klementinum, but first of all, some information about this tour. It will take for about 45 minutes and we will end it here at the very tip of the tower. And there's 172 stairs to reach the top. After the end of this tour, you have to leave the same way that we came in. There is no other way. But if you don't want to go the whole tour, you don't have to, of course. You can always either fully exit the tour early, or you can just sit down at the chairs along the way. However, the most important thing is that please be careful on the stairs, and also please watch your head because of the stairs. Thank you very much. So now about Klementinum. So Klementinum, in a form that we know it today, was the oldest and largest Jesuit building complex in Czechia. And I speak of it as a building complex because it was mainly university and monastery, but it always included different types of buildings, for example, churches and chapels, two of each, but also residential buildings, school building, lecture hall, library, printing house, and it also had a pharmacy, for example. All of that took 170 years to build. We will now see the newest part of the building, which was finished in year 1726, and we are actually not sure about the architect. But before this was a Jesuit building as we know it today, there used to be a Dominican monastery at this place. And it was built at the beginning of the 13th century, but it was later devastated in a religious civil war in year 1420. So when the first Jesuits came in this place in the 16th century, they only found ruins of this Dominican monastery, but also ruins of the church of Saint Clement that used to be here. So that's why they decided to name this place Klementinum. But Jesuits came here specifically in year 1556 because our king at that time, Ferdinand I Habsburg, invited them. Why? Because he was actually really unsatisfied with the situation in his country. At that time, the vast majority of the population were Protestant, and he, as a Habsburg, was very strict Catholic. So he wanted to start a re-Catholicization in Czechia, but he also wanted more education among people. And Jesuit order was kind of perfect for that. So after Jesuits arrived here, they started to build this large complex, and they started to educate as many people as possible because they actually valued education above anything else. Also, they made this place their center of operations for the whole Czech kingdom. But Jesuits actually had to leave this place 2 times. First time it was in year 1618 after Prague Defenestration, because after that a 30-year-old war in the whole Europe started. And after this war, Catholic Church was the only allowed religion in Czechia. So after they connected, this became like a center of education in Prague for many years after that. But the second time Jesuits had to meet this place, it was in year 1773, after Pope actually dismembered the whole Jesuit order internationally. But then he restored it again in year 1814, so again that's when they left, and then they returned back here. But Jesuits stayed here until the 50s of the last century. They completely left when communists took over this country because they prohibited all monasteries. And since then, this is the not a property, but a seat of National Library of Czech Republic. Also, just a fun fact, both Albert Einstein and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart were here. Albert Einstein was actually a professor at this university, but only for a year and a half. However, experts are saying that this sounds really important to his theory of relativity. And Mozart visited Klementinum when students played one of the symphonies here in the Mirror Chapel. So that's it for the introduction. Now let's continue to the first floor to see the library. It's first 37 stairs, out of that 172. So I hope you're ready for a workout.
I think she said that part just for me. Those stairs were tough, very tough for me.
We'll have this interactive panel in here, and it's in here because unfortunately we cannot enter the library fully, and that's because what makes this library so special is the fact that it's preserved in the same condition as the year it was built, so year 1727. And we actually don't have any information about something being stolen or damaged here, so that's what makes it truly a national treasure, but also very sensitive room to humidity, light, temperature, and all of that. So in order to save it for the next generations, we had to have some rules. The only people that can go inside fully are the workers of the National Library of Czech Republic. That's like a government institution that takes care of all the books and libraries in Czechia, and they have workspaces in every other room in this building. So naturally they come here to take care of the library, to study the things inside, but to also digitalize every book. So if you're interested, some of these books are already published online. You can visit their website at National Library of Czech Republic. But most importantly, you can use this to see more details of the library, like this, for example, so I recommend you to try this. You can also look at other rooms of Klementinum here, for example, at the Mirror Chapel, which is not included in this tour, unfortunately. And you can also look at their website to find this there, so you can use it later, for example. But in this room, we also have some pictures here. There are 4 portraits of the most famous astronomers. And they are not in here because we will see the astronomical tower, but also because 2 of them worked in Prague. It was Tycho Brahe over there in the corner, and also Johannes Kepler, the second one from left. We will talk about them more upstairs, but now let's go inside the library. Please tell you more about the library. So this Baroque Library is 41 meters long and 12 meters wide. Inside, there are 27,500 books, but originally this library was built only for 15,000 books. The collection of books inside changed throughout the years many times. The collection of books that's inside right now is here from the 50s of the last century, and it doesn't change anymore. It's a collection of non-Bohemical books, which means books that have nothing in common with Czechia or Czech language. So mostly all of these books inside are in Latin or in German language, but there are also many other languages there, for example, many Italian and French books. Also, the collection is dated from the 16th to the 18th century, so the oldest book inside is from the year 1500 and the newest book from year 1800. And at the ground floor, there are only theological books, and upstairs there are only science books in different categories separated by different science subjects. The fresco on the ceiling is made by Johann Hebel, and it's showing us the medieval concept of human knowledge, or the history or evolution of human knowledge from the Jesuit point of view. It is mainly separated in 3 parts. So in the first part, there is God Apollo on Mountain Parnassus, surrounded by muses, and that depicts the birth of human knowledge in ancient Greece from the Jesuit point of view. In the second part, in the center, there's an illusion of dome because Johann Hebel studied illusionist painting in Italy, but there are also some prophets there of the Old Testament, so the middle part depicts the Old Testament for us. And at the third part, at the very end, we cannot really see it, but there's transfiguration of the Lord, of Jesus Christ, with some prophets of the New Testament there. So the third part depicts the New Testament for us, which was the peak of human knowledge from the Jesuit point of view. There are many things happening on the fresco. It was kind of his goal to keep the students really busy looking at it. But on the sides, there are also groups of scholars or Jesuits or patrons of this university, etc., which represents different science subjects that were taught in this university. They are also separated by different signs. So for example, over there on the left, there is written numerus, and that means mathematics. But above that sign, there is an interesting tiny square on a dark background, and that is actually a game with numbers that you can try, because if you count the numbers inside of that square from every angle, it should give you the same result. It's maybe similar to a game called Sudoku, but it's officially called the Magic Square, because it's an old antique game. However, you can try it. It's on the left above the sign numerus. Another interesting thing on the fresco is on the right side, over there above the sign ratio, which means reason, because above that sign there is a man with long ears. He kind of looks like an elf or a gremlin, and he's also breaking a book. And that has a meaning that the biggest enemy of knowledge is ignorance. It is written at that book next to him in Latin. So these are just some interesting things going on the fresco. As I said, there are many things happening there. If you're interested about it, just ask me later. We'll talk about it. But at the very end.
So this library just wowed me. I enjoyed St. Gallen very much. The National Library at Vienna was incredible. But this one is just magical. We couldn't walk through it, and it's all right. It's just fascinating, all the little details that go into the many hidden things in there. But I've always wanted to come to Prague for many reasons, and one of them was to go to this place where Tycho Brahe did a lot of his. Tycho Brahe was the Danish astronomer, and this is where he spent the last years of his life. And story has it that he died because he was at a royal banquet and wouldn't leave to go use the restroom, and that disrupted his bladder or caused some internal problems, and he died painfully probably shortly afterwards. Also, Tycho Brahe hired Johannes Kepler, which anybody in mathematics and physics would know him well, astronomy, and he refined a lot of the mathematics that went into our understanding of planetary motion. So they had a lot of displays of books and astronomical instruments, and I went up to the top. It about killed me, and I fell way behind the tour, so I didn't get to hear anything more she had to say. But I did make it up there while people started coming down because they were done with the tour. And it was tough. It was tough. But all around there, it shows all the buildings engraved inside what you're looking at. And the views are just spectacular. This is a must-do when going to Prague. But you got to get your tickets. Now, they sell half the tickets online, and then the other half you could get in person in the morning before they sell out. And yeah, I would get there before 9 o'clock because the line started to develop pretty good. Alrighty, we'll catch you next time.